I want to go back in time before we go forward. Let's revisit why Kyle Shanahan traded up for Trey Lance. I mean, that was 4 years ago. Given what we know now, why do you think Kyle traded up for Trey Lance? What was the number one reason he did that? Because I have I think I know.
You mean is the question Trey Lance specifically or a quarterback?
See, that's the issue. Because I don't think it was about Trey Lance specifically. I don't think it ever had anything to do with Trey. And I think that's kind of what sucks for Trey. I think he kind of got caught up in something between Kyle and someone else.
I think Kyle just got his ass handed to him by Patrick Mahomes, and he was looking for a Patrick Mahomes. And when you talk to Trey Lance, he interviews really well. He's a nice kid. I think the 49ers also heavily weigh your personality in a lot of aspects. And I think Trey Lance is, very good personality. Always says the right things. It looks like he could be it talks like he could be a CEO.
Probably would do well in an interview.
He does, really well in an interview. I think they heavily value that, right? It's the culture that the 49ers heavily value. Look at the picks they get. They don't really have a lot of issues off the field with this team. They heavily value that stuff. And Trey had the size and the strength and the arm talent and the personality and everything. What he didn't really have is experience and confidence. So I think they didn't realize how important that was when they made that decision. And that's probably why they went for Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a better character than a Mac Jones. The things that Mac Jones was saying and doing in college was not on the same level as Trey. Trey Lance handled himself professionally. He comes from a good family, but he just lacked the experience and the confidence to be effective at this level. And Kyle was not prepared to help give it to him. So we'll see what happens with Trey under Harbaugh, or if his career could just be completely washed. But I think it was just a misevaluation.
I think it's worse than that. I think, to me, he said that they traded up without a quarterback in mind. They traded up to have the opportunity to scout the quarterbacks without having to pretend you're not in the market for a quarterback. And then they figured out that Trey was the one they wanted. To me, it was all about, like you said he got his ass handed to him by Patrick Mahomes. Correct. And then you said he was looking for, and you said his own Patrick Mahomes. Yes, or he was looking for a scapegoat for the loss. Because I think Kyle's the reason he lost that Super Bowl. And we'll go back to that one in a second. I think he's the reason the Niners lost both the Super Bowls. And a lot of people feel that way. But some people feel it was Jimmy's fault. They gave Jimmy every opportunity to be the reason they won, and he couldn't do it. He wasn't good enough. He missed some big throws in that game. So I think for Kyle's, coaching legacy / ego, I think he really wanted to put it on Jimmy. And once they traded for a quarterback, then Jimmy was no longer the franchise quarterback. He was getting replaced. He eventually, and he lost his status as, the guy.
I think both could be true, though, right? Like, I think you're right. Like, it probably was a scapegoat thing for Kyle. He probably did blame the loss on Jimmy, but he also was heavily responsible for that. But I will say this: Jimmy did not play well in that playoffs. In that run, he did not play well. So, yes, Kyle probably could have altered his game plan and his play calling in order to help the 49ers get over the hump of Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't out there really helping the 49ers either. So
I think it's highly possible that Kyle Shanahan, it was an emotional decision. You lost the Super Bowl. You came back the next year. Jimmy got hurt. You missed the playoffs. Jimmy didn't play the final couple games, and you might have said to yourself, man, this guy is making me look bad. He won't play when he's hurt. He's the reason we lost the Super Bowl. We got to replace him. So you trade up and you don't know who you're going to get. And you think it's going to be Mac Jones. He would have been the wrong guy. Then you end up with Trey Lance, and it's like you go through 3 quarterback coaches in 3 years because he wasn't the right guy. You thought he'd be you interviewed him. You thought he was a good fit for your scheme. He played under center. He thought he wasn't accurate. And so Shane Day couldn't teach him how to throw an accurate pass. Rich Gangarello couldn't teach him how to throw. Like, you kept going through guys, and it seemed like he just didn't really know what he was getting himself into. He blamed other people that it didn't work out, and then he pivoted back to the locker room didn't want to make the change, but he wanted to make the change because he blew the Super Bowl. How did he blow the Super Bowl? I want to revisit this one more time. He had the lead. He always does this. He did all three. He had the lead, and he goes in the third quarter and passes. Why? Because if he had just run the ball, then it's like a team win. It's not necessarily Kyle won. The Niners as a team did the right things to win the game, but like if you're trying to pass the ball up in the third quarter, it seems like you're trying to like blow them out, make it a masterpiece, and make it about yourself, which is kind of what the Niners did in 1995. They put up 55 freaking points on whatever on the Chargers, and everyone looked at Mike Shanahan as a freaking genius. I think for Kyle, it's not enough for the team to win that game. It has to be his masterpiece, and I think that's part of his, tragic flaw.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think one of the things with Kyle that in his philosophy that I don't agree with, teams were begging the 49ers to beat them by throwing the ball with Jimmy Garoppolo. The defenses, right, that they were facing, we're like, throw it. We're daring you to throw it. We're gonna line up and take away the run. And Kyle plays into that, right? Like, oh, I had to pass because they were taking away the run. What I would love to see Kyle switch to, and I don't know if they have the personnel even on the offensive line to do it. And it's something I've been complaining about for a long time, is that smash mouth football where it's like, yes, we're running and we know that we're running and we're going to run it anyways and we're going to have success at it. They don't really have that part of this on this offense. So Kyle tries to, like, he outthinks himself quite a bit. Like, they're taking away the run, we got to pass. Well, you have Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a reason they want you to pass. So what you need to do is just keep running the ball, whether they're ready to stop it or not, show them that they can't. And I think that's one thing that's missing from Kyle's philosophy is just that power of football that you see a lot of teams implement that you don't see from Kyle. But I do think you're right. Like, we have not seen accountability from Kyle Shanahan much at all. I think the only thing he's ever been accountable for that I can really recall is the Trey Lance debacle. He actually said, he feels like he let Trey Lance down. So outside of that, I haven't really seen him take accountability for anything. And so, yes, obviously, when they don't win, he's going to find a reason why they didn't win. Like last Super Bowl, it was the defense's fault. The one before that, it was Jimmy's fault, right? So there's always an explanation from Kyle.
Rod Simmons says, I believe Kyle thought Trey was a better alternative for Deshaun Watson, who we believe they were going to trade for. Maybe, but thank you for bringing us back to like Trey Lance. But when they made that trade, it was clear that they were kind of looking around for another quarterback, and they were linked to Matthew Stafford, who the Rams got quickly. If it'd be interesting if the Niners had been more decisive and had gotten Matthew Stafford that year, they might have won a Super Bowl by now.
I think so.
And what's interesting, the year before that, they could have had Brady.
Yeah.
And they blew that opportunity too. So
yeah. It's one of the worst things about this Kyle Shanahan era with the 49ers. They just have not done a great job at quarterback. And even the quarterback they have right now is luck, right? Like, just the last pick in the NFL draft just happens to be a good quarterback. Like, that wasn't Kyle, right? He just kind of stumbled upon Brock Purdy. So it's been one of the biggest black eyes on this era.
And that's again why I feel like this is the end of the rope, the end of the road for Kyle and John. It has to work with Brock, because you didn't even identify Brock as someone good. Brock was lucky. Brock was the last pick in the draft. The guys you thought were good were Jimmy and Trey. And then you had to pivot and go to option C, who was the last pick in the draft. And you gave him all this money. And if he turns out to not be worth it, then the organization can't come back to you two with confidence and say, okay, find the right quarterback, because you've tried 3 times, you struck out, and now it's time for someone else to try to find a good quarterback, an elite quarterback in the modern NFL. It's not you guys. It all comes down to Brock.
Yeah, man. And I think, I really feel like I know who Brock is, man. I think he's he's a good quarterback, but he's not like an elite quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be a top 5 quarterback. His numbers might look like it at moments if everything else is clicking, but I really think it's dependent on what Kyle's doing and the players around him staying healthy. I think that's what's ultimately going to decide whether Brock has a good year or a bad year.
Yeah, it was funny. The difference between the York's 49ers and the DeBartolo 49ers, I mean, the Yorks have the nicer stadium. They make more money. They have a better business side, but the DeBartolos always had a Hall of Fame quarterback. always, or at least a top 5 quarterback in the league. Because Garcia is not a Hall of Famer. The Yorks haven't been able to. They're always trying, are always convincing themselves they got the guy, but we don't even know that about Brock yet. Dude had one good year and change, and we're gonna find out if that was a blip or not this year. But yeah, that's where the Yorks are at, man. They've been searching for 25 years for a real deal quarterback, haven't gotten them. Maybe Brock's the guy.
Yeah, and I would love to have Brock surprise me and make me look wrong about it. I've looked wrong about Brock in some ways before, but I just don't think he's an elite. And I think if he was elite, I don't think we would be debating it. Right? When you're an elite, I don't think the Bills fans are debating if Josh Allen is elite, or Ravens are debating if Lamar Jackson is elite. Right? They just know that they are.
Let me ask you a question. Jordan Love for Brock Purdy. Who says no?
Probably both teams.
Think so?
Say. I don't see
maybe that might be the right
I don't
answer.
think Jordan Love opens up the 49ers offense. I think Kyle likes what he has in Brock. Now, like if you start talking like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, those are the type of players, obviously the 49ers wouldn't even think about. But when it comes to Jordan Love's right in that tier with Brock Purdy, maybe a little worse, honestly, when it comes to some decision making. I don't think either team is convinced to do that.
Yeah. Jordan Love has such a nice arm, and he's never really played with some of the weapons that the Niners have. But yeah, it's a tough one, man. I don't think the Packers would do it. I don't think Brock Purdy would make the Packers better. But I don't know if Jordan Love would make the Niners better.
Yeah, I mean, I had Brock and Jordan Love pretty close to each other going into what was it, 2020?
Also, Brock and Green Bay would be all bad. All bad.
Oh yeah,
because of
the weather.
Because of the weather. Yeah.
Nah, but Jordan Love, the way he ended his 2023 season, throwing that interception against the 49ers,
bad,
really made him fall off for me. Yeah,
fair enough.